there is a point where reality stops feeling simple. You look at your life, your routines, your conversations, your thoughts, and everything seems solid, predictable, explained. But then something small breaks that feeling. A moment of awareness where you realize you are not just living inside reality, you are experiencing it from somewhere deeper. And that raises a question that does not go away easily. What exactly is this experience you are having from the inside? Not the explanations, not the theories, not the labels, but the actual act of being aware right now. In this video, I want to explore reality as something layered, not one fixed thing, not one final truth, but different levels of experience that sit on top of each other. Each one changes how you see yourself and the world, not as a belief system, just as a way of observing what is already happening in you. The first level is the one most people never question. It is the shared world. You wake up, you go to work, you interact with people, you follow rules that everyone agrees on. Money has value, time has structure, words have meaning, distance is real, bodies are separate. This level feels absolute because everyone participates in it. It is reinforced constantly through language, behavior, education, repetition, and because it is shared, it feels like the only reality that exists. But even here, something important is easy to miss. You never actually touch this world directly. You experience it through your senses, then through interpretation. You never step outside perception to confirm it independently. You stay inside experience the entire time. That becomes the second level. Perception itself. Light enters the eyes. Sound reaches the ears. Pressure touches the skin. And all of that becomes a mental image, a reconstruction, not the thing itself. The brain does not show reality. It builds a version of it that is useful for survival and navigation. Two people can stand in the same place and experience the same situation differently. Not just emotionally, but literally in terms of what stands out, what feels important, what is noticed at all. At this level, reality becomes less stable. Not because it changes outside, but because what you experience depends on what your system filters. And those filters are not neutral. They come from memory, from conditioning, from past experiences, from emotional states. This leads to the third level, beliefs. Beliefs are not just ideas you hold. They act like internal instructions for how to interpret what you see. If you believe people cannot be trusted, you will notice signs of betrayal everywhere. If you believe life is unsafe, neutral events will feel threatening. If you believe you are not capable, even simple challenges will feel heavier than they are. At this level, reality is no longer just perceived. It is shaped. Not fully, not completely, but enough to change your experience of almost everything. And most people never separate what is happening from how it is being interpreted. Then comes the fourth level, the scientific description of reality. At this layer, the world becomes systems, laws, patterns, measurable interactions. Cells divide, planets orbit, energy transforms, causes produce effects in repeatable ways. This level brings clarity. It reduces confusion. It creates tools, technology, medicine. But it also has a boundary. Science describes what can be measured from the outside. It does not fully answer what it is like to be the one experiencing it. You can map the brain activity linked to pain, but the experience of pain itself remains something you live, not something you observe externally. This gap becomes important when you pay attention to it, because it shows that explanation and experience are not the same thing. The fifth level is more speculative, but many people arrive at it naturally. The idea that reality might be informational in nature, that what you experience is not a solid external world, but a structured flow of information being processed in a consistent way. Space, time, objects, even identity start to feel less like fixed things and more like patterns that appear stable because of how they are organized. At this level, the question shifts, not what reality is made of in a physical sense, but what kind of structure allows experience to appear at all. You stop focusing only on objects and start noticing the framework in which objects appear. Then there is the sixth level, the mystical or direct experiential layer. This is not about beliefs or concepts. It is about moments where thought becomes quieter and experience feels immediate in a different way. Time feels less rigid. The sense of separation between observer and observed weakens. The mind stops narrating for a short time. An experience remains without interpretation. People describe it in different ways, but the common point is simplicity. Not complexity, not imagination. Just direct presence without mental interference. It is difficult to hold this state as an idea. It only makes sense when it is experienced. And finally, the seventh level, the level that cannot be clearly described. Not because it is hidden, but because any description already turns it into something else. This is where language reaches its limit. You cannot define it without reducing it. You cannot explain it without turning it into an object in thought. At this level, even the idea of levels becomes something that dissolves. What remains is experience itself, without structure added on top. Not special, not elevated, just what is here before interpretation. When people hear all of this, there is a tendency to turn it into something abstract or distant. But the point is not to escape everyday life or to build a new belief system. The point is to notice how much of what you call reality is constructed through layers you rarely question, and how often you confuse the construction with what is actually being experienced. You still live your life. You still deal with responsibilities, people, decisions, routines. Nothing about that disappears. What changes is the assumption that you already see everything clearly. Because clarity does not come from adding more ideas. It comes from seeing what is already happening without immediately turning it into a fixed story. And when you look at reality this way, as something layered rather than absolute, you might notice something simple. Most of what you react to is not the world itself, but your interpretation of it. Most of what feels solid is held together by repetition and attention. And most of what you're looking for is not somewhere far away, but already present in the act of noticing. Not as a conclusion, just as experience happening now.